Once again, I want to invite you to this continuation of our study. And the study, as we have been looking at, it's about the rapture dilemma. The rapture dilemma. So far, we have looked at the introduction. We are still in the introduction, and this is section B. Section B. Section A of this presentation, where we are looking at the biblical language that has been used to describe the verse that has brought confusion. We have looked at the word left, how it has been used in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Without so much, I want to invite you to the section B of this presentation, and we will consider the second part and the second word, which is taken. And we look at it both in the New Testament, in the Old Testament and New Testament. Just to remind you, if you had not listened to the section A, you can always subscribe, you can always follow the link, and you'll get it in my channel. Now, we are considering Matthew 24, verse 40 and verse 41. I just want to read it for us so that we can catch up with the other part. And it says this: Then two men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other one left. Verse 41, two women will be grinding the meal at the mill, one will be taken and the other one will be left. Now, we have already seen what the word left implies biblically in the original language, both the Hebrew shawar and in the New Testament, that is afiemi. Now, I want us to consider the word taken in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. Welcome as we continue being blessed. Remember that this is a final event series that I started and we are still going on. So keep tuning in for other parts as we consider the word taken in the Old Testament. Just a recap that in part 1a, we looked at left and we saw that left has a meaning of remaining or surviving. After a destruction, that which is remains, that which survives. Okay, and in part B, we are looking at the word taken. So let us look at this word in the Old Testament. Now, the word taken, it's good to note, in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew, the word taken is lakad. Lakad. L-A-K-A-D. Lakad. Now, in the Old Testament, what is the meaning of this word taken? That is the question that we want to answer in the Old Testament. Now, we will first examine the Old Testament meaning of this word, and then we will also take a look at the New Testament. Okay, in the Old Testament, the word taken is frequently used to describe cities or empires which are overcome, defeated, or destroyed in a military invasion. It is also employed to denote individuals who are overcome or ensnared by an enemy. I will pause a bit. That is how taken is used in the concept or in the context of the Old Testament. The Old Testament scholar by the names Walter Kaiser in the theological word book of the Old Testament has this to say about the meaning of the word lakad. This is what he says: most of the 121 uses of lakad deal with men capturing or seizing towns, men, spoils, and even a kingdom. Quoting 1 Samuel chapter 14, verse 47. It is used figuratively of the entrapment of men who are caught in snares of all sorts laid by their enemies. If you read, he's quoting Jeremiah 5, verse 26, Jeremiah 18, verse 22, and Psalms 38, verse 8. Now, this word also serves as a figure of divine judgment. The stone of stumbling will cause many to stumble or fall, be broken, be ensnared, and be captured. Isaiah 8, verse 15. When God shakes the foundation of the earth just prior to the millennium, many days of Isaiah 24 verse 22, the ungodly shall cease in their trap. Isaiah 24 verse 18, as were those who drank and mocked by prophet's message. If you read Isaiah 28 verse 13. Now that's according to the Old Testament scholar Walter, trying to help us to understand what the meaning lakad means, taken. Now let's look at several examples of the first usage of this word lakad. Joshua 8 verse 8, verse 21 and verse 22 describes how I was ambushed and taken by Joshua. It is not worthy. It is not worthy. It's not worthy. It's good to note that not one escaped or remained because they were all slain with the sword. In these verses, it becomes obvious that taken or lakad is the antonym of left. In other words, the city was taken and not one was left. Perhaps it will be helpful to state it this way, that the city was taken or defeated and no one was spared. If when the city was taken, some had been spared, we could say that a remnant was left or survived. Thus, left would be a synonym or synonymous with spared. Several other references reveal the same meaning. In Judges 1 verse 8, we are told that Jerusalem was taken by the tribe of Judah, and the inhabitants thereof were smitten with a sword. Jeremiah prophesied that Jerusalem will be taken by Nebuchadnezzar. That is in Jeremiah 32 verse 3 and Jeremiah 38 verse 28, Jeremiah 48 verse 44. Now the prophet left no doubt as to what he meant when he used the word taken. Jerusalem will be destroyed with fire. Jeremiah 37 verse 8. And both husband and wife will be taken together. Jeremiah 6 verse 11. Obviously, the word taken or lakad here does not mean that the city or the person will be removed to some other location. It simply means that the city and its dwellers will be overcome or defeated. Now, Jeremiah described the demise of Babylon with the same word. If you read Jeremiah 50 verse 2 and verse 9, saying that the mighty men of Babylon will be taken. If you read Jeremiah 51 verse 56. Now, let us look at the word taken as it is used in the case of individuals. That is about cities. Now, when it comes to individuals, Psalms 59 verse 12, we are told that when the wicked are taken in their pride, they will be consumed by the wrath of God. Proverbs 3 verse 26 assures us that God will protect his people's food from being taken by the wicked. Obviously, this does not mean that the wicked will literally want to take the feet of God's people. It is an idiom which means that God will not allow the wicked to overcome, to destroy his people. In Proverbs 11 verse 6, we are told that transgressors are taken in their own naughtiness. This simply means that the wicked are overcome. Ecclesiastic 7 verse 26 assures us that the sinner is taken by a wicked woman, but the person who pleases God will escape from her. The sense of this verse is very clear. The sinner will be overcome or done in by a wicked woman. In contrast, are those who escape from her power because they please God. In Proverbs 5 verse 22, we are told regarding the wicked, his own iniquities shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. Now, the New English Bible renders this verse in this way: the wicked man is caught in his own iniquities and held fast in the toils of his own sin. The word taken. Let us look at the word taken as it is used in the New Testament. The word taken as used in the Old Testament, in the New Testament. Now, the word taken in Matthew 24, verse 40 and verse 41 comes from the Greek root verb lambano. Lambano. L-A-M-B-A-N-O. Lambano. That is where the Greek root verb in the context of Matthew 24 is derived from. Now, this word is used frequently and with great versatility in the New Testament. Its basic meaning seems to be to take, to receive. However, when we look at lexicographers, they suggest that the word can also mean to take away, to remove, to lay hands on, to seize. Now, in this second sense, the meaning of the word is very similar to the Hebrew word taken, lakad, which we have previously examined. We've just looked at it. Now, we will not seek to look at or to speak many references where the word is this word is translated taken or receive. However, it will be well to present some few examples of this the second meaning that is we have looked at up there. In Acts chapter 2 verse 23, Peter tells his Jewish hearers that they have taken, that is lambano, they have taken Jesus and crucified him. The word here could very well be translated to be seized. Now, in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, the Apostle Paul, this is what he assures us, that no temptation has taken us. That is lambano. No temptation has lambano us, which cannot be overcome. The sense here seems to be to overtake, to overcome. In 2 Corinthians 12, verse 16, the Apostle Paul tells the Corinthians that he caught them with guile. He lambano. If you look at that word there, it's lambano, with guile. This seems to indicate the meaning of catching by surprise. In Matthew 21, verse 39, we are told that Jesus caught lambano and cast out of the vineyard. Okay, you can also see the same in Mark chapter 12, verse 3 and verse 8. Now, here, the meaning once again seems to be that Jesus was seized and then killed. Luke 9, verse 39 refers to an evil spirit taking a person and tearing him apart and bruising him. The meaning of lambano here is obviously to seize, to overwhelm, to overcome. Now, 2 Corinthians 11 verse 20 refers to deceitful workers who bring the faithful into bondage, devouring them, smiting them, and taking them. Here, the word lambano is used in a conjunction with the idea of smiting, devouring, and leading into bondage. Now that we have examined the basic meaning of the word lambano, it will be well for us to take a look at the specific derivatives of this word which is used in Matthew 24, verse 40 and 41. But first, a word, it's good to say, a word about prefix uses of prepositions in Greek. Okay, as in English, the Greek prepositions can be added as a prefix to a verb or a noun. Now, the end result of adding these prepositional prefixes to words is to denote the location or direction of movement of that which the word describes. Well, The word lambano is employed in the New Testament with many prepositional prefixes. For example, we have para lambano. Okay, that is a prepositional prefixes. Para lambano. That means to take or receive alongside. To take or receive alongside. Another prepositional prefix is ana lambano. Ana lambano, which is to take or receive upward. Ana lambano. Okay. Another prepositional prefix is kata lambano. Kata lambano, to take, to overtake, or to take away, or overcome. Another prepositional prefix that is used in the New Testament is san lambano. San lambano. San with S-U-N. San lambano. That is to take with, to seize, or to apprehend. Now, though each of these words has its own particular meaning, it is important also to realize that these words do not always have exclusive meanings. They frequently overlap and sometimes are used interchangeably. When we compare Jesus and Paul, we will see that this is the case with katalambano and paralambano. The specific word used for taken in Matthew 24 verse 40 and 41 is paralambano. Just to remind you, paralambano is to take or receive alongside. To take or receive alongside. As previously noted, this word is used to describe the idea of being taken alongside or next to someone else. The question immediately suggests itself. Why was paralambano, P-A-R-A, lambano, L-A-M-B-A-N-O, used instead of one of the other? The answer is not hard to find. Matthew 24 verse 40 and 41 describes two persons who are besides or along each other. So, when the door of probation closes, the wicked are with the righteous. They are together side by side. Now, to paraphrase, there will be two together in the field. One of these who is alongside the other will be taken, while the other who is alongside will be left. That is just a paraphrasing. The fact that the righteous and the wicked are alongside each other makes it necessary to use paralambano. I believe you can now get the language, the biblical language, how it is used. Now, it is imperative to realize that if Jesus had wanted to express the idea that these people who are going to be taken to heaven, he could have used other Greek words which more appropriately describes the act of being taken away. Notice very well the biblical language. It will help us to understand the mystery behind what the rapturist or futurist teach. Well, the study of Matthew 24 from 37 to 44 will not be complete if we do not take into account a parallel passage from the writings of the Apostles Paul. Now, really, this passage clinches to the argument we have been pursuing. Even a casual comparison of Matthew 24, 37 to 44 with 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 1 to verse 6. I want us to compare, to do a parallelism study briefly in this section for these two texts. Immediately reveals that Paul and Jesus are dealing with the same events, the close of probation and the second coming of Jesus. Paul is talking about the same thing. Jesus in Matthew is also speaking about the same thing. Now, let's begin with Matthew 24, 37 to 44. Here, Jesus is speaking about the close of probation and the second coming. There are two groups, the taken and the left. Shawar Afiemi, Lambano, and those who are taken. Well, here he commands his followers to watch. He describes, that is Matthew 24, verse 42. He commands them to watch. He describes his coming as a thief in the night. 24, verse 43. He wants his followers to be ready lest that they catch them unaware or unexpectedly. 24, verse 44. You can also read it in Luke 21, verse 34, which uses the word suddenly. Now, he warns against being drunk. Matthew 24, verse 49. He also explains that when he comes, the majority of the world will be destroyed or taken away. That is Luke 17, verse 29, or Matthew 24, verse 37. Now, the parallel passage in Luke has Jesus saying that his people should pray that that day should not catch them as a snare, so that they will be accounted worthy to escape all these things. Luke 21, verse 36. The Apostle Paul's on the other side, because we are doing a parallelism, Apostle Paul on the other side echoes this concept of Jesus. He refers to the same events, the close of probation and the second coming of Jesus. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 14 to 17, and chapter 5, verse 2. You can also look at 2 Peter 3 on the meaning of the day of the Lord. Now, Paul refers to two groups. Let us start. Just like Jesus, Paul refers to two groups. Number one, those who are alive and remain the children of the day. These are the children of the day. That is to say, those who are left. And two is also describing those who are destroyed, the children of the night. Chapter 4, verse 15. Chapter 5, verse 3 to 4. Now, Paul again, just like Jesus, warns Christians to watch. Look at the parallelism. Chapter 5, verse 6. He wants the Christians to watch. He explains that the close of probation will come as the thief in the night. Chapter 5, verse 2. He encourages Christians to be sober and ready, lest that day catches them unaware and by surprise. Look at the parallelism. Chapter 5, verse 3, verse 6, and verse 8. Now, he also warns against being drunk, just like Jesus did. What a parallelism. That can help us to understand the Bible language. Chapter 5, verse 7 of 1 Thessalonians. He explains that sudden destruction will come upon the wicked. Chapter 5, verse 3. He also warns that the children of the night will not escape. If you read chapter 5, verse 3. A very important fact, which has escaped many commentators, is that Matthew 24, verse 40 and 41, Jesus uses the word paralambano to describe those who are taken, while Paul, on the other hand, uses the related word katalambano. Well, Jesus uses paralambano. Paul, on the other side, uses kata lambano to describe those who are overtaken as a thief. Thus, a comparison of the statements by Jesus and Paul reveals that those who are taken in Matthew 24, verse 40 and 41, okay, or those who remain in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 14, are contrasted with those who are taken, as in Matthew 24, verse 40 and 41, or overtaken. 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 4. Now, those who are left or remain are saved, while those who are taken or overtaken are lost. Very important to note. Let's now put everything we have studied in one context. I believe that Matthew 24 from 37 to 39 holds the key which unlocks the meaning of verses 40 and verse 41. And if you look at so many other commentators, they assume that the expression, the coming of the Son of Man, refers exclusively to the second coming of Jesus. But is this entirely accurate? A careful examination of verse 37 to verse 39 indicates that this expression is related to two sequential events which are separate in time and yet closely linked. Let's quote the entire passage and highlight two important key words. It says, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man." The careful reader will notice that the word "until" is used twice. In these verses, the first time to mark off the moment that Noah entered the ark, and the second to mark off the moment when it began to rain. Genesis makes it clear that a period of 7 days elapsed between these 2 points of time, entering and raining. Now, during these 7 days, the wicked and the righteous were alongside each other. As Matthew makes clear, the wicked during this period did not know that their fate was sealed. That is, that they were lost. They continued business as usual. They ate, they drank, they built, they married, so on and so forth. They planted, and all those things, planning for years of peace and prosperity. They were taken by surprise. They were caught off guard, caught totally unawares when the door closed. Yet, only when the flood swept them all away did they realize that they were lost. Jesus compared this plight of the wicked with the coming of a thief in the night. Matthew 24, verse 42 and 43. Let's imagine a family who is at home sleeping at 12 midnight. They have gone to bed and forgotten to lock the doors. What happens? The thief comes and finds the door open. He steals the jewelry and everything. He steals so many household and other things, taking almost everything, and the family, we can say in this case, it is caught off guard. They are caught unaware. They did not know that that will happen. They have been taken by surprise and are unaware that the thief has visited them. It is only in the morning when they wake up and they realize that they have been robbed. In a sense, they are surprised twice. The first time they are caught by surprise or caught off guard and they are unaware of it. Yet the second time they wake up and they are very much unaware. They are very much aware. The same will happen in conjunction with the second coming, my friends. The close of probation, my friend, will catch the world by surprise off guard. However, at this point, the inhabitants thereof will be unaware that the door of mercy has closed. The wicked will only realize that they are lost when they see Jesus coming and on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. But then it will be too late for them. Too late. They realize that the thief has come, so to speak, and they have been found wanting. They are taken away by a flood of fire. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10 and 14. So the ones who are left are the saved, and the ones who are taken are the lost. If you understand this concept, the dilemma of the rapture or the secret futurist teaching will not get you off guard. Now, the fact that Matthew, Luke, and Paul uses different terms to describe the same event need not surprise us. Paul can speak of those who are alive and remain, while Jesus can refer to those who are left. Matthew can quote Jesus as saying that at the flood, the wicked were taken. Luke can quote Jesus as saying that they were destroyed. And Paul can say that the wicked will be overtaken. Now, even today, when a devastating flood sweeps away a town, there are so many floods happening right now. People will ask, did the flood take them all away? Wasn't anyone left? That will be the statement. Was anyone left? Did the flood drown everyone? Didn't anyone remain? Those are common questions. Was everyone swept away? Wasn't anyone preserved? Or even this way, did the flood destroy them all? Wasn't anyone spared? Who would say that take away, swept away, drown, or and destroy are not different ways of describing the same reality? And who will say that left, remain, preserved, spared are not different ways of saying the same thing? Let's think about it. Let's think about it. Okay? Let's think about it. The word taken, and the word left. We have looked at it. And I want to believe by now, using the biblical language that has been used in Matthew 24, verse 40 and 41, you can clearly see, you can clearly and outrightly understand this, that the word taken, okay, the word taken and the word left does not imply what others assume. In other words, those who are left or remain, they are the ones who will be saved. Well, those who will be taken, it simply means they are the ones who were swept away. They are the ones who will be destroyed. And in this sense, you can judge, are they Christians or the non-Christians who are taken and who will remain? Now, let us not fall into temptation of speaking into the Bible, but let us allow the text itself to speak to us. And that is how to understand the Bible. Just to remind you, there is nothing about the rapture in the Bible. It is just a coined theological word or theological term. Now, I want to invite you to our next part. In the next part 2, we are going to look at what is wrong about the teaching of the futurist. But before then, I want to invite you once again to subscribe. And thank you to all those who have subscribed. As I do this presentation, I have over 200 and I want to thank you so much for subscribing in. And I want to believe that as we continue growing together, you will as well find more benefits from my channel. So welcome, subscribe, share the link, and just as I say, may you continue meditating. Are you going to be part of those who will be taken or those who will be left? Are you going to be part of Lambano? Or are you going to be part of Lakad? Are you going to be part of Shawar? Or are you going to be part of Afiemi? Friends, we need to understand the word. You need to be part. Choose one. Choose one. Because Christ himself says two groups will be together. And this is what he says somewhere in the Bible, that let the weeds and the wheat grow together. So which one will be taken and which one will be left? It's a question that I pose to you as I invite you to part 2 of the secret dilemma. God bless you and be a blessing by subscribing, by sharing this presentation. God bless you.